Hey everyone, Tony Winston here, Jazz Piano College, and this is the third and final part of You Must Believe in Spring. I previously went over the intro and then the first chorus, and then that was the second chorus, which is improvisation about halfway through, and then it kind of goes back into the head. And I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things I picked up from doing this transcription. Now, I'm doing it at about 135 beats per minute, and Bill Evans plays it about 185, so it's quite a bit slower, but it still swings at this tempo. And, I might get it up to tempo one of these days, but that's not really the main objective. I've picked up a few things, some really cool things that I think I can use in my own soloing that'll, help me, quit playing the same old crap that I always play and, just kind of point me in a slightly new direction. So before I noticed that, he ends a lot of phrases on beat 4, and I see down here when he's in the D major part, ends right on beat 4 there again. And then there's some pretty long lines here. And once again, he anticipates the chord progression, sometimes by a beat, sometimes by a half a beat, sometimes even by a beat and a half. So let's go over what he's doing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So we have a really nice little enclosure there. Right, we're on F sharp. 7, and that plus 9, I hate that. It should say sharp 9, but a plus 9 means a sharp 9. And that's a nice enclosure, and that kind of another one here. Good. All right? Heading for that a B minor ninth. You know, dee-da-dum-bum. Not the most hippest rhythm, you know, but the thing is that he mixes up his phrasing and his rhythm so nicely that even kind of square stuff like that, 1 and 2, 3, it seems to work. Then this is, he does this on B minor in every place it happens in this solo. He does that. It's not always exactly the same, but it's something along those lines. Now this measure is all on offbeats, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and really that's just kind of all grace notes going into the next measure. All right, and look at this, you know, it's A7, right? This particular chord, you know, because we haven't added this note or this note, it supports the diminished scale just perfectly, and it would also support the Lydian dominant as well, but the diminished is in play here. And then right into D major. And that's just, you know, that's such a nice little melodic idea there. 1 and 2 and a full beat ahead of the time there on F minor 7 flat 5. There's a lot of phrases coming up here where he's going kind of up an arpeggio, like, and then over here, like in the next measure, he goes, and then in the next couple measures, and then here. So at first when I was playing through this thing, I was all twisted up. I mean, my fingers were going over top of each other and twisting around and getting stuck and everything else. And I looked for a fingering that would just kind of work every time. And, you know, the thing about piano is, and I suppose guitar and sax and other instruments to a certain extent, but more so on piano, you have to wonder, what is the fingering? I've gone over Art Tatum transcriptions and seen fingering in there that I know Art Tatum didn't do. Pretty sure anyway. And so I'm trying to find the fingering that's easiest and makes all these lines flow. And the thing I finally came up with was to do 1, 2, and then put your thumb under and continue the rest of the arpeggio. And this works on every one of them. So 1, 2, and that's B altered scale in there. 1, 2, 2, and then 1, 2, and then put your thumb under for the last 3 notes. It was kind of the same before. And then you have 3 more notes after your thumb. So 1, 2. And another really great enclosure here. Am I doing that right? Yeah. And here we have what looks like an A altered because we've got that flat 13 in there. And then he plays the F sharp in there like it's the diminished scale. And it just goes to show you that he really has kind of an independence of hands in terms of, you know, something is under automatic pilot here, you know, where he's just, you know, going to a chord that he's familiar with right there. And then the right hand, you know, he may be thinking the diminished scale without realizing that he played the altered chord here. You know, they're so close, it doesn't really matter. You can put one with the other, but and you could even just look at it as an enclosure, which it certainly is. But right here, you know, that's the diminished scale. And, you know, with the F sharp in there, it really clashes with that note. But so what? All right. And once again, 1, 2 right here, 1, 2, and then just 1, 3, 5 there. And then another 1, 2. All right, and here's something interesting. It says C sharp minor 7 flat 5, and he's playing what looks like an E minor 7th chord. And even the line seems like E minor 7th. So let's just scratch that out up there and put the E minor in there. But why? Can we use E minor there? Here we got G sharp altered. That plus sign, you know, it usually means augmented, but you know, this doesn't come from the whole tone scale, so it's altered. And then here, all right, here it begins a 2-5-1 in B. So we've got this. All right, we've got C sharp, half diminished, F sharp altered, and B minor ninth. Can we substitute an E minor seventh for our minor 7 flat 5? Well, I think we can, because it is legal to add the ninth, but it is also legal to add the flat 9. And many people don't realize this because it is very dissonant, but that is a legal extension to this chord, according to Berklee College of Music chord formulas. And so I think he's just moved it up and played like an inversion of C sharp, minor 7 flat 5, and maybe he's thinking a substitution of E minor, which would be fine. So instead of a 2-5-1, we've got a 4-5-1. And of course, you know, 4-5-1, you know, it's almost the same as a 2-5-1, right? 2-5-1, 2-5, 4-5-1. So we could do that too. And now here on the F sharp altered, and I'm convinced that back in the day, before, you know, colleges started teaching the altered scale and the diminished scale and all that, that the harmonic minor scale was very familiar to these musicians after studying, you know, classical music probably. So they knew the harmonic minor scale, and it's B harmonic minor because that's where we're going. And right in there, if you add the A, then you get the diminished scale. But I think the older players, well, they weren't old when they played it, but you know, from back in the day, used the harmonic minor scale and thought of it that way a little bit more than they did the diminished scale or the octatonic scale, if you want to call it that. And you know, they would just add that note into the harmonic minor scale, but that was the scale they were thinking about. Right there, and he ends, yeah, that's jazzy, all right? And here's that riff again. All right, and here's some nice little triad somethings, triad figures here. All right, and then this one. And then we've got, this is the line I had the most trouble with. 1, 2. And then he starts these nice descending arpeggios, which get more and more kind of compressed in time. You know, in classical music, we would call that stretto. It's more stressed. You know, things are piling up on top of each other. But first, this riff. By the way, the coolest part of the solo that I really am going to explore a little bit more is this little enclosure that he does right near the end. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But let's look at this line again. So a little anticipation of the altered chord here, C sharp 7 plus 9. That's an altered dominant. Because that's a sharp 9 chord. And here it's just kind of chromatic. All right, that's a legal note to put on G half diminished, right? That's the 13, the flat 13 actually. This is a legal note too. All right, so he anticipates that by a beat and a half. It goes right up that, you know, using the natural 9 and the 11. All right, now here's a C 7th. Calls it C13. And once again, he's using the diminished scale here. It really jumps around too. All that is diminished scale. And then gets into F minor. Here's B flat altered. All right, he just plays the tritone, but you know, you can hear that it's altered from the notes in the melody there. 1, 1, 1. All right, so you know, the E flat coming down there. All right, pretty typical stuff there. Another place here where he's using the diminished scale, but just jumping all over the place. And then here's the D minor 7, flat 9, and he's got the regular 9 here and puts the flat 9 up there. All right, he did that before in the first part of the solo in the previous video. And here's the riff I just love. All right, that is a G altered, and of course they wrote G plus 7, which means like the whole tone scale, but it's not. It's an altered chord. All right, you can tell. Flat 9, sharp 9, flat 13, that's got to be an altered chord, all right? And he does this wonderful enclosure. All right, so I'm going to remember this, and I'm going to put this into blue bossa in just a minute, because this is just wonderful. All right, so if we're thinking like a blue bossa, there I used it again. All right, so I used it over an unaltered rootless voicing there. It's so cool, it kind of fits either one, because that fits that chord and that fits that chord, so either way you go. Or this one. So, you know, just to put it into any key, take a 7th chord, start on the 3rd, and do it like that. All right, E. All right, D. So just doing a little practicing there. From there on, he just takes the solo, it just goes back into the song. And at some point, it kind of turns into rubato. So, you know, my track just keeps on playing in the swing feel because it's banned in the box and it doesn't know any better. And, you know, it puts a beautiful ending on the song. And, yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you for sticking with me through the entire video. I know it was a long one. Links to the first 2 parts of the video are down there in the description and probably around here someplace. And I hope you're getting your new year off to a start. This is January 5th, 2024. I will be 69 years old in 3 days. Getting off to a kind of a slow start this year, but hopefully we'll pick things up in the weeks to come. Take care, everyone. Thank you.